Hey everybody, movie review next door here, and I'm back with another review. This time I saw Smile. It's a 2022 horror film directed by Parker Finn, and it stars Sosie Bacon, Jesse T. Usher, Kyle Gallner, Robin Weigert, Caitlin Stacy, Cal Penn, and Rob Morgan. In this film, after witnessing a bizarre traumatic incident involving a patient, Dr. Rose Cotter starts experiencing frightening occurrences that she can't explain. So, what did I think of Smile? I hated this. I just hated it. Like, it genuinely anger inducing how much traction this has gotten and how people are considering this and Smile 2 horror classics. I'll get to Smile 2 next. But holy fuck, was this a bad movie. But let and I'll explain some movies that it rips from that are much better from it, much better than it. To the cast. Sosie Bacon plays Rose Cotter. She's a therapist, um, or psychologist, something like that. She's okay. I mostly blame the direction because not none of the none of the people in this film are really that good. So when pretty much everybody in a film is bad, I'm usually gonna be like, okay, maybe it's just bad direction because Kyle Gallner plays Joel, and he's not that great here either. He's very wooden, very, oh, hey Rose, I didn't know it was gonna be you. Like it's one of those movies. And I usually like Kyle Gallner. He's usually a very reliable horror movie actor. Um, Jesse T. Usher plays Trevor, Rose's fiance. I've seen him in. I saw him in Shaft last time I saw this actor. He was okay, I guess, even though it wasn't that good a movie. Um, Robin Weigert plays Dr. Madeline Northcott, who is Rose Cotter's or Rose's own psychologist. She's there. Her voice and her face get really annoying. Caitlin Stacy plays Laura Weaver. She's the girl that comes in to to. She's basically our opening kill. And even though I'm not like, it's not really a. It's given away in the trailer, and it's the kickstart to the film. So she's she's giving like the closest, excuse me. She's giving the closest to a good performance, even though she's barely in it. Cal Penn plays Dr. Morgan Desai. He's the higher up of Rose. He's fine. Not much to say. I'm not huge on Cal Penn's serious roles. And Rob Morgan plays Robert Talley, who's one of the survivors of the Smile chain. He's the only other one that I'm like, okay, he was trying. And I do think Sosie Bacon is trying here. It's just that her performance doesn't exactly hit. And the first thing I want to say is the direction. Parker Finn, this is his first feature length film, and it fucking shows. This film is based on a, what, 11-minute short called Laura Hasn't Slept. Yeah, 11-minute short featuring Caitlin Stacy from the beginning of Smile. That's the reason she's at the beginning. And it feels like a short stretch to feature length, and this is an almost 2 hour long movie. The reason that matters here is because there is barely enough story for a 90-minute film, and the ending is a slap in the face. I'll get to that, and this is a spoiler review. Spoilers from the very beginning. Most of the scenes in this film can be boiled down to the beginning and ending being slightly different from everything else. The beginning being Rose inheriting this demon from experiencing a traumatic psychological event, and uh, the ending being her losing to the smile spirit or the smile demon, which I'll explain that. And pretty much every scene in between is lead up to a really forced jump scare. The jump scares in this are plenty and not well implemented, and I'll explain why. To her trying to prove to other people, and again, most of them don't believe her because bad writing, that there is something after her, and she keeps using words like spirit or ghost, which is not gonna fly well with people, even people you know. So most of this film is very repetitive. That's a main reason why I'm like, this is boring as shit. Yes, I will say there's some funny stuff, like some unintentionally funny bits. Because again, this film's main gimmick is that the demon smiles at you. You need actors for this concept. You need actors who are genuinely can be off-putting, like can be normal looking and also off-putting. Most of the actors here, it's just them like doing a forced smile. But if you wanted it to be like an unnatural smile, that could have worked even with that with any actor. Like if you have a little kid like doing an unnatural smile with like CGI or whatever, then it can look really creepy because you're doing something the human body normally can't do. And like the ending does something with practical effects that's actually kind of interesting, even though I feel it's kind of wasted here in this nothing burger of a movie. But like, you have a sound concept, it's just not executed well. And even if it was executed well, I would still be like, keep it under an hour and a half or really close to that because an hour and 55 minutes is way too much for this concept, especially with the sequel, which is 2 hours and 7 minutes. So, yeah, that's a big issue is pacing. The pacing in this is horrible. There are a lot of shots. This is one of those films kind of like A24 where it's like, "Oh, the movie's pretty and the soundtrack is different. That means it's a good horror movie." This feels like a drama more so. It feels like a melodrama with the amount of scenes of Sosie Bacon freaking out and crying and then talking about trauma from her past. Again, that's another thing that horror movies nowadays can't seem to get away from allegories in their horror movies. And allegories can be great. Godzilla's an allegory for nuclear energy. Um, Frickin' They Live is an allegory for consumerism. Like it can be done well. It's just here, it's like shouted at your face. Like they're like, "Oh, she has this tragic past and people are misinterpreting her saying that she didn't kill the cat." And I'll get to that. She didn't kill the cat, the force did, as if she's like trying to blame all her actions on something that doesn't exist. And it's just such an annoying recurring thing to me, like a recurring trope in horror movies that I wish will die. Because it makes for an experience where you can't trust anything, especially in Smile 2, which I'll get to. The ending of this film is a slap in the face to anybody who likes this movie, and I don't understand why people who like the film still like it after this ending. Because the ending is literally our main character, Rose, is given a way to beat the demon. She imagines stabbing one of her own patients while Calpen watches. And again, I can give them credit for using practical effects because some of them are pretty cool. But there's also CGI enhancement, and this bit has the worst part of it, where she's stabbing the guy and she's not putting any force into it, making it very obvious that she's holding a knife or she's holding a real knife handle, like a real prop knife handle, but she doesn't have an actual like knife. So whenever she like plunges it in him, it doesn't look like it's actually making contact because it isn't. 100% this is a CGI knife blade in the same way that Scream 4 they chose to use CGI knives as well. But in that film, it never really bothered me because, again, the practical effects in Scream 4 are much better, much more convincing. Some pretty fucked up ones too. The bit where Anthony Anderson gets stabbed in the forehead and he's like walking out like shaking and shit. Like fuck it up. Like Scream 4 is much better than this. Any of the Scream movies up to 4 are better than this. Um, but the ending, she's given the way to beat the spirit. You kill somebody in front of another person, you traumatize them and leave them with the spirit, or well, she imagines killing the guy in front of Cowpen, and then Cowpen like rips his face off in the dream while the guy she's stabbing is laughing, and it looks comped in. As in, like, it looks like they did this effect on a stunt actor, maybe, and then they comped in the face ripping on top of Cal Penn's face because he wasn't on set long enough for them to do the effect, or he just refused, kind of in the way that Linda Blair refused to do the makeup again in Exorcist 2, so they have a stunt double do it. And it looks fake as hell. Even if it is a practical effect, it looks so fake because you comped it in and you have CGI enhancements that make it worse. I will give the film this, the smile demon at the end looks really good. It looks kind of funky, and pretty much every time there's something horror happening in the film, there's like a buildup of either a character being quiet or our main character like there's a lot of heartfelt conversations where she's like talking to who she thinks is her mom or is a spirit of her mom at the broken down house, and then she turns into the monster, and it's just like, okay, so we had what I thought was going to be genuine feelings happening, or a genuine character, like a genuine like, because it's her learning, her realizing that she shouldn't feel guilty for what happened, and she shouldn't keep carrying it. But it means nothing because the smile demon starts coming after her. Then she lights it on fire, runs out of the house, drives to Kyle Gallner's house. And then while he's talking, she realizes that she never left the house. And then she locks herself inside the house, and the smile demon basically rips open her mouth and like crawls inside of her. And then she lights herself on fire in front of Kyle Gallner. And then the movie ends with Kyle Gallner now infected. This ending is literally the same thing as okay, to the people who love Smile with a passion and think it's like the perfect horror movie or even a great horror movie. You know the ending of Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 2 where they have the entire end battle be all in the mind of someone and then the battle never happens? That's basically this, where it's supposed to be subversive that she's not actually dead. She's, or that the villain isn't actually dead and the villain's stuck in her head. And again, I have no reason to root for Sosie Bacon's character, mostly because she's an idiot. She doesn't do what is told. She went to such great lengths to find out what's going on, is told by the prisoner, you have to kill somebody in front and leave a witness because the witness will then take your spirit, and she just refuses to do it. She clams up and goes to this house thinking that she can wait out the demon because there's nobody for her to give it to if she stays in the house, which also doesn't explain why the hell Kyle Gallner goes to the house to begin with, because it's never even insinuated that he's been in that house. It's never insinuated that he knows where she used to live, even though they used to date. Like, they never really go into it. They never really develop them as a pair. So I'm just mostly left befuddled by all of this. And again, the ending is just shit. I hate endings like this that are like, "Oops, psych, the way that you're meant to defeat the villain didn't work this time. Maybe it'll work in the sequel." And yeah, just didn't have fun watching this. There's too many things. There's too many bits where it's like, this is again, it's the unreliable narrator trope where you can't trust anything the main character is telling you because even though we see in multiple scenes this happens, there's a bit where she's trying to bring a present to her nephew's birthday party and she buys a train. You see it get wrapped, you see it get put in this box and you see her wrapping it. And we never and then the next time we see that present is the kid opening it and seeing her dead cat, which I guess she killed it off screen while she had the demon inside of her. I guess that's what we're supposed to think happened. It's not well it's not well set up at all. Because you know the cat's missing and I'm like, okay, it's gonna turn up dead. And then it does. And then the sister is like the acting in this film really drags it down. Like again, Sosie Bacon, I think, is trying in the same way Naomi Scott in Smile 2. I think they're both trying. I genuinely think Parker Finn is not a good director. In terms of visuals, sure, even though some of them are a bit overkill, the bit where the camera like zooms into the window outside and it like slowly fades into her driving to the old house, it was like, okay, why? That's kind of ruining my immersion for a horror movie. Like, and just again, the setups for the jump scares, it's not that scary. It's not well set up. A lot of the gore effects feel very subdued or just they don't really add much. Again, it's very repetitive. The musical score, I didn't look up who did it, but the musical score in this is fucking irritating. It's like it's like dance club music, but like distorted basically, and I just don't find it scary, like at all. It like you needed like a string orchestra, you needed like a 50-piece orchestra kind of soundtrack for this. I get that I guess the electronic stuff is supposed to be like an 80s throwback, but it doesn't even sound like an 80s throwback. Um this film feels like it's a ripoff of many movies. I have some right here. Oculus, even though last time I saw it I didn't love it, has a lot more imagination, a lot better scares, a lot better atmosphere than this, a lot better acting. Karen Gillan is pretty great in this. Same with Brenton Thwaites. Hereditary, one of two A24 horror movies that I've liked so far. Great performance from Toni Collette. It Follows. This is literally just It Follows, but with smiling. The Ring, a PG-13 horror movie that's creepier than this. And kind of a wild card, but it is a very similar premise. Don't Kill It with Dolph Lundgren, where there's a demon that once you kill the person infected by the demon, you are now infected by the demon. He's a demon hunter. Like, so many movies have done this same basic premise much better. Uh, Again, with better acting, it, Dolph Lundgren gives a better acting performance in this $1 million budgeted action horror movie than they do in a $17 million film like Smile. Uh, the film is also near 2 hours. It does not need that length at all. It is not. It feels like a 2 hour movie in the worst way possible. Um, Again, the most I can say about this film is the cinematography is quite nice. The film looks like, other than a couple really wonky CG enhanced gore effects, the film overall looks fine. Um, and there's some interesting transitions between scenes other than the like circle, the glass window thing. I thought that looked weird. But still, I really don't get why this is a well-regarded horror film. I don't get why people are loving it, like at all. I'd say stay away from this. Like, if you trust my opinion. But yeah, uh, that was my review of Smile. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, put them down there as well. And movie reviewer next door, out.